We have all encountered individuals who make us uncomfortable. However, are you aware that some people in your life may be subtly manipulating and harming you? This video will explore 10 clear indicators to identify toxic individuals in your life. Viewed through the lens of Stoic philosophy. Prepare to enhance your awareness and protect yourself from the negative influence of others. For sometimes, the greatest enemy is the one you least suspect. 1. Persistent manipulation. Manipulation through opacity. Manipulators do not cultivate relationships based on trust and honesty. Instead, they exploit your uncertainty, vulnerabilities, or insecurities. They employ flattery and feigned affection to foster dependence. For instance, a manipulator might publicly praise you, inflating your ego, only to subtly undermine your work later, thereby eroding your self-confidence. Manipulators create a sense of dependence by subtly undermining your confidence and self-reliance. They insinuate that you are incapable of independent action, suggesting that only they possess the understanding and ability to guide you to success. This fosters self-doubt and dependence. For instance, while professing a desire to help, they gradually erode your autonomy and decision-making capabilities. Manipulators commonly sow doubt and ambiguity to undermine your confidence. When uncertainty arises, they encourage self-questioning, planting seeds of doubt such as, "Am I mistaken?" or "Am I misinterpreting something?" This erosion of self-assurance makes you more susceptible to their influence and control. Manipulators cultivate psychological dependence in their relationships. They may subtly undermine your confidence, creating a sense of inadequacy and dependence on their judgment. This prevents you from escaping their control, fostering a belief that only they can navigate your challenges. This enforced dependence inhibits your ability to live freely and independently. Protecting yourself from manipulation. A clear and assertive approach. Maintaining clarity of thought and self-possession is paramount. Do not allow manipulators to draw you into their games. Have unwavering confidence in your abilities and remember that you possess the autonomy to make decisions independently. Without external influence, recognizing manipulative tactics is crucial. Identifying the signs of manipulation allows for swift disengagement from the manipulator's machinations. Awareness of these tactics prevents entanglement. Establishing firm boundaries is essential. Create clear and unwavering boundaries with manipulators, preventing encroachment upon your personal space and autonomy. Implementing robust limitations safeguards your independence and mitigates the risk of manipulation. This assertive approach ensures you remain in control of your decisions and interactions, effectively neutralizing manipulative attempts. Remember, your well-being and autonomy are your responsibility, and proactive measures are key to safeguarding them. 2. Alluring shell. Charm as a manipulative tool. Unscrupulous individuals leverage charm to cultivate a positive and approachable image, fostering trust and comfort in others. However, this charm is not genuine. It's a calculated strategy to achieve personal gain. They may make you feel special, needed, and important, but in reality, they are using you as a means to their own ends. For instance, an acquaintance might consistently make you feel valued, only to withdraw or even disparage you once they no longer derive benefit from the relationship. This reveals their charm as a mere facade concealing their true nature. A captivating exterior often masks a self-serving nature. This alluring facade serves as a deceptive camouflage for inherent selfishness and dishonesty. Individuals adept at this manipulation cultivate a flawless, approachable image, yet harbor a core of calculated scheming and manipulation. Their actions, words, and even compliments are meticulously orchestrated to foster a sense of unique importance in their target, thereby facilitating their manipulative schemes. For instance, a seemingly supportive friend might lavish praise in public, inflating the target's self-esteem. However, once the target's usefulness is exhausted, this manufactured affection evaporates, often replaced by denigration designed to maintain the manipulator's carefully constructed public persona. This calculated exploitation highlights the insidious nature of such relationships, where genuine connection is replaced by a transactional dynamic driven solely by the manipulator's self-interest. The initial charm acts as a lure, drawing the victim into a web of deceit, ultimately leaving them feeling betrayed and emotionally depleted. Recognizing this pattern of manipulative behavior is crucial to protecting oneself from such exploitative relationships. Beneath the veneer of charm, the true character of unscrupulous individuals invariably reveals itself through their actions. While they may employ seductive words and gestures, their treatment of others, particularly those who offer no apparent personal advantage, serves as the most reliable indicator of their authentic nature. For instance, observing their interactions with individuals incapable of providing them with any benefit will often expose a marked lack of respect, or even outright indifference. This demonstrably highlights the insincerity inherent in their outwardly appealing behavior. Such individuals prioritize self-interest above all else, and their interactions are ultimately transactional, devoid of genuine empathy or consideration for the well-being of others. Consequently, their charm functions merely as a manipulative tool, designed to exploit and control those within their sphere of influence. A discerning observer will readily perceive this underlying duplicity, recognizing the stark contrast between their projected persona and their actual conduct. The consistent pattern of disregard for those deemed unworthy of their attention provides irrefutable evidence of their true, and ultimately, reprehensible character. Protecting oneself from superficially charming individuals requires a discerning approach. Prioritizing one's intuition is paramount. If an uneasy feeling persists despite outwardly positive interactions, trust your instincts. Healthy relationships are founded upon genuine sincerity and mutual respect, not manipulative tactics. Observe actions, not merely words. Scrutinize behavior when the individual believes they are unobserved. Charming rhetoric can easily mask disrespectful or callous actions. Seek consistency. A truly virtuous person will consistently align their actions with their words. Discrepancies reveal a deceptive nature. Persistent inconsistencies serve as a clear indicator of insincerity and should be treated as a significant warning sign. Maintain healthy boundaries and prioritize self-preservation. Do not hesitate to distance yourself from individuals who exhibit manipulative or exploitative behaviors. Regardless of their superficial charm, remember that your well-being and safety are paramount. Understanding the motivations behind charm is crucial. A genuinely caring individual offers support unconditionally, not merely when it benefits them. Their interest extends beyond self-serving flattery. They actively contribute to your growth and development. Conversely, those who employ charm manipulatively appear only when it serves their interests, disappearing when their needs are no longer met. Countermeasures. Establish firm boundaries. Do not be unduly swayed by flattery or disingenuous attention. Genuine goodness requires no artifice. Observe actions. If their actions contradict their words, do not hesitate to disengage from the relationship. Actions alone provide definitive evidence of character. 3. Deception is morally reprehensible. Deliberate deception. Individuals who engage in this form of deception utilize lying not as a subconscious act, but as a calculated strategy to achieve specific objectives. Their motivations range from acquiring power and evading responsibility to cultivating a false persona. These lies are meticulously crafted, serving personal gain through the manipulation of others, the avoidance of accountability, or the distortion of truth. For instance, an individual might claim completion of a significant project without any actual involvement. However, when pressed for specifics, their inability to provide accurate details necessitates the fabrication of further falsehoods to maintain the deception, inconsistency, and doubt. A hallmark of such individuals is their deliberate creation of doubt regarding the perceptions of others. They not only lie but actively sow seeds of uncertainty, undermining the confidence of those around them. These individuals frequently alter their narratives, exhibiting a lack of consistency and generating contradictions between their words and actions. When confronted, they deflect blame, shifting responsibility onto others or offering justifications rather than acknowledging fault. For example, an individual might claim leadership of a successful project, yet subsequent investigation reveals significant embellishment of their contributions. When challenged, instead of admitting the discrepancy, they might attribute the discrepancy to a misunderstanding or blame others' absence of remorse. Significantly, these individuals exhibit a notable lack of guilt or remorse. They view lying as a necessary tool for achieving their goals, demonstrating a disregard for accountability. This absence of remorse is particularly dangerous, indicative of a profound lack of self-awareness and ethical consideration. If someone causes harm through deception and shows no sign of regret, instead justifying their actions and deflecting blame, it highlights a manipulative and potentially dangerous character maintaining control through deception. A primary motivation for employing deception is the maintenance of control within interpersonal relationships. By controlling information and manipulating the truth, these individuals exert influence over the thoughts and beliefs of others, fostering acceptance of falsehoods. This is particularly insidious in personal and professional contexts, eroding trust and creating an environment of uncertainty. In a professional setting, for example, an individual might consistently misrepresent their contributions to a project, creating a dependency on them while simultaneously concealing their inefficiencies, protecting yourself from unscrupulous deception. Safeguarding oneself against manipulation requires vigilance in identifying inconsistencies in an individual's words and actions. When encountering contradictory narratives or discrepancies between statements and behavior, skepticism is warranted. Prioritize verifiable evidence and factual information over unsubstantiated claims. Pay close attention to inconsistencies. Deceptive narratives rarely hold up under scrutiny. Inconsistencies often emerge upon closer examination. Focus on actions, not words. Observe behavior, as actions provide a more reliable indicator of character than eloquent pronouncements. Establishing boundaries and demanding transparency. Setting clear boundaries is crucial for self-protection. Avoid becoming entangled in deceptive narratives. Demand transparency and do not hesitate to question inconsistencies. Pose direct questions and request substantiation when confronted with ambiguous statements. Request evidence or logical justification. This process helps differentiate truth from fabrication. 4. A lack of empathy. Apathy and lack of genuine concern. Empathy involves understanding and sharing the feelings of others, offering support during hardship. However, those lacking empathy disregard your emotions unless it benefits them. They may listen to your problems, yet instead of showing understanding or offering help, they remain indifferent, unconcerned, or outright ignore your feelings. For instance, if you describe a personal or professional difficulty, they might interrupt to discuss their own issues, completely disregarding your emotional state. Alternatively, they might offer dismissive platitudes like, "It'll be all right," without genuine empathy. Inability to share joys and sorrows. A hallmark of a lack of empathy is an inability to share in your joys and sorrows. During happy times, they may not genuinely celebrate your successes, potentially exhibiting envy or indifference. When you face hardship, instead of offering encouragement and support, they remain apathetic or even attempt to worsen your feelings. For example, upon achieving a significant accomplishment, they might respond unenthusiastically with, "It's not that big a deal," or downplay your success. Conversely, during difficult times, they offer no assistance, remaining silent or shifting the focus to their own problems. Indifference to the suffering of others. A clear indicator of a lack of empathy is indifference to the suffering of others. Such individuals may feel no empathy or remorse when witnessing others' pain or hardship. They are unable to put themselves in another's shoes to understand their emotions. For example, when you share a significant loss or serious problem, instead of expressing sympathy, they might simply say, "It'll pass," or "Everything will be okay," demonstrating a lack of genuine understanding or shared emotion, merely seeking to quickly end the conversation due to a lack of emotional connection. Treating others as means to an end. A lack of empathy can lead to treating others as instruments to serve one's self-interest. They disregard the emotions and needs of others, focusing solely on achieving their own goals. When these benefits cease, they readily abandon or refuse to support others. For example, such individuals might exploit relationships for personal gain, whether professionally or otherwise. Once you no longer serve their purpose, they may turn their back or act indifferently, ceasing to care. Uncaring responses to requests for help. When facing hardship and requiring support, an unempathetic individual will not offer genuine assistance. They may provide unhelpful advice or offer no practical help whatsoever. This not only fosters feelings of loneliness but also diminishes the value of important relationships. For example, when facing financial or psychological difficulties, instead of offering help or encouraging you to seek solutions, they might respond with, "You'll have to figure it out yourself." Devoid of any support or encouragement. Protecting yourself from unempathetic individuals. To protect yourself from unempathetic individuals, identify the signs of their indifference and establish clear boundaries in your relationships. An unempathetic person cannot provide the support you need, potentially causing long-term psychological harm. Setting clear boundaries is crucial. If you feel unsupported, establish boundaries to protect your emotions. Prevent them from exploiting or further harming you. Seek empathy elsewhere. Find individuals who genuinely care and understand you. Empathetic people willingly share emotions and help you overcome challenges. Do not expect change. Unempathetic individuals may not change, and you should not expect them to. Prioritize self-preservation and prevent them from negatively impacting your emotional well-being. 5. The urge to control. Controlling the thoughts and decisions of others. The insidious nature of control manifests as a subtle form of manipulation where an individual seeks to dominate not only your actions but also your decisions and thoughts. They engineer a dependence by subtly undermining your confidence in your own judgment, creating the perception that you are incapable of making sound decisions without their assistance. For instance, a friend might consistently offer unsolicited advice on minor choices, what to wear, where to go, gradually escalating to major life decisions like career paths. While seemingly innocuous, these actions erode self-reliance, fostering a reliance on their guidance. Cultivating self-doubt. A key tactic employed by controlling individuals involves instilling self-doubt regarding one's autonomy. They systematically undermine your confidence, creating a dependence on their assistance in both personal and professional matters. For example, during a project or significant decision, they might interject with questions designed to sow uncertainty. Are you sure about this decision? Could you do better with my help? This questioning process subtly erodes confidence, prompting self-doubt about one's capabilities. Exploiting insecurities for control. Controlling individuals are adept at identifying and exploiting vulnerabilities to strengthen their influence. They leverage your insecurities to manipulate your dependence. They recognize weaknesses and strategically employ them to entrench their control. For example, someone aware of your professional self-doubt might create scenarios highlighting your perceived inadequacies, stating, "You'll probably need my help. This task is quite complex." Or, "You wouldn't be able to complete this without me," thereby reinforcing dependence. Manipulating guilt to maintain control. A common method of control involves inducing guilt. When you deviate from their expectations or refuse assistance, they employ subtle tactics to make you feel culpable for rejecting their help. This fosters a reluctance to resist their influence in the future. For example, rejecting their help might elicit a response such as, "I only wanted to help, but if you don't need me, there's nothing I can do," or "I only want what's best for you." These statements subtly induce guilt, making future resistance more difficult. Emotional dependency. Beyond controlling actions and decisions, controlling individuals manipulate emotions to maintain power. They engineer emotional responses, happiness or sadness, to suit their agenda, thereby reinforcing their dominance. For example, they might use statements like, "I'll be very disappointed if you don't do this," or "You're making me so sad," to create a sense of responsibility for their emotional well-being, fostering dependence on their approval. Using charm to deceive and manipulate. When subtle control tactics fail, controlling individuals employ charm and flattery to cultivate a sense of closeness and value. While appearing caring and affectionate, this tactic masks a manipulative intent to foster emotional dependence. For example, excessive praise might be contingent upon compliance. Resistance to their demands then results in withdrawal of affection or expressions of disappointment. Protecting yourself from controlling behavior. Safeguarding against controlling individuals requires assertive self-advocacy and a strong sense of autonomy. Cultivate self-belief and establish clear boundaries. Maintain independence by refusing to allow others to undermine your confidence or question your capabilities. Establish firm boundaries, refusing to allow interference in personal decisions or emotional manipulation. Reject guilt-inducing tactics. recognizing that you are not obligated to please others, especially those seeking to control you. 6. Blame deflection and redirection. Evasion of accountability. A hallmark characteristic of individuals employing this tactic is their inability to acknowledge errors and accept responsibility for their actions. They consistently deflect blame onto others, circumstances, or any factor external to themselves to avoid criticism. This behavior serves to maintain a perceived image of perfection and shields them from feelings of guilt. For instance, following a project failure, instead of admitting insufficient preparation or errors in execution, they might blame colleagues or an unfavorable work environment. Statements such as, "The project failed because the team didn't collaborate effectively," or, "This is due to a lack of support from other departments," are common, effectively obscuring personal shortcomings. Redirection of attention. Another prevalent tactic involves diverting attention from the core issue to an unrelated element. When confronted with a mistake or inappropriate behavior, individuals utilize this deflection to avoid scrutiny and criticism. They often focus on minor or irrelevant details to distract from the primary concern. For example, if criticized for missing a deadline, instead of acknowledging their fault, they might retort, "But you said you'd help me last week, why didn't you?" This skillfully shifts the blame to the accuser, diverting attention from their own failure to meet the deadline. Induction of guilt. Those employing blame shifting and redirection tactics not only evade responsibility but also actively attempt to induce guilt in others regarding the situation they created. They manipulate empathy and foster feelings of guilt to discourage criticism or opposition. For example, after making an error, they might state, "I only did it because I thought you couldn't handle it alone," or "I didn't want to disappoint you. But things didn't go as planned." These statements subtly place responsibility on the other party, fostering sympathy rather than confrontation. Ambiguity and distortion of facts. A sophisticated tactic involves the use of vague or distorted truths. Individuals employing this strategy construct ambiguous narratives or selectively alter details to present a version of events that minimizes their culpability. They may offer unsubstantiated assumptions or incomplete explanations to create a narrative that differs significantly from reality. When criticized for a poor decision, they might respond, "I acted on what I believed was the best information at the time. But perhaps I misinterpreted the circumstances." This avoids direct admission of fault, suggesting the error stemmed from incomplete information or unclear circumstances. Emotional manipulation. Proficient users of blame shifting and redirection often manipulate the emotions and psychology of others. They may attempt to portray the accuser as overly critical, unsympathetic, or even the source of the tension. For instance, when confronted, instead of addressing the issue, they might say, "Can I ever please you?" or "I did everything I could. But you still aren't satisfied." This frames the accuser as unreasonable or unsupportive, while the individual deflects responsibility for their actions. Defense mechanisms. To protect oneself from individuals employing these manipulative tactics, maintaining a firm stance and resisting their attempts to derail the conversation is crucial. Recognizing the behavior and responding calmly yet assertively is essential. This involves maintaining consistency in addressing the core issue, pointing out contradictions in their statements or actions, and establishing clear boundaries. Do not allow them to induce guilt for situations not of your making. By focusing on factual evidence and maintaining a clear, direct communication style, you can effectively counter these manipulative strategies. 7. Finding joy amidst suffering, a testament to resilience. Individuals who derive satisfaction from the misfortunes of others exhibit a distinct lack of empathy. Instead of offering support or compassion when others encounter difficulties or setbacks, they find pleasure in observing the suffering of others, sometimes even experiencing a sense of fulfillment from another's failure. For example, witnessing a colleague's professional setback might elicit not concern, but rather silent observation and even covert amusement. When confronted with another's personal failures, such individuals fail to demonstrate empathy, potentially exacerbating the situation rather than offering solace. Deriving pleasure from the suffering or misfortune of others is a hallmark of a callous individual. Such individuals actively seek opportunities to place others in difficult situations or witness their distress. This behavior transcends mere apathy, It constitutes the deliberate creation of hardship for others. For example, one might sabotage another's work, expose their vulnerabilities, or otherwise orchestrate circumstances designed to inflict hardship. The individual may even experience satisfaction or glee at witnessing another's undeserved suffering. Elevating oneself through the failures of others is a common tactic employed by individuals who derive self-worth from the misfortunes of others. They perceive their own strength and value only in relation to the weakness or failure of others, often manifesting as denigration or belittling. For instance, in a professional setting, witnessing a colleague's shortcomings might be exploited, not for offering assistance or guidance, but for criticism or public humiliation, thereby enhancing their perceived superiority. The perverse pleasure derived from inflicting emotional harm is a hallmark of individuals who experience schadenfreude. These individuals not only demonstrate a callous disregard for the feelings of others but actively seek to cause emotional distress. They may employ cruel words, undermine self-esteem, and inflict lasting psychological damage. For instance, when a friend confides in them about a personal matter, they might respond with demeaning or sarcastic remarks designed to make the friend feel inadequate, unworthy, or ashamed. Their intent is not merely to cause distress, but to derive satisfaction from witnessing the suffering of others. The phenomenon of schadenfreude, or the experience of pleasure derived from another's misfortune, manifests in individuals who find satisfaction in witnessing the suffering or hardship of others. Instead of empathy or a desire to assist, these individuals exhibit a callous and cruel disposition, lacking not only compassion but actively experiencing pleasure in the suffering of others. For example, one might observe an individual laughing at a colleague's reprimand, even if the colleague is innocent or has merely experienced a minor setback. This indifference extends to a specific gratification derived from another's misfortune, often stemming from a perceived enhancement of their own sense of security or superiority. This action demonstrates a profound lack of empathy and compassion. Deriving pleasure from the suffering of others is indicative of a callous and unsympathetic disposition. Such individuals are incapable of, or unwilling to, share and understand the emotions of others. Instead, they actively seek to inflict emotional harm or violate the emotional boundaries of others to enhance their own sense of happiness or power. For instance, an individual might deliberately attempt to diminish your accomplishments or undermine your self-worth. When confronted with your difficulties, they offer no assistance but instead exacerbate your distress through psychologically damaging pronouncements. Protecting yourself from those who derive pleasure from the suffering of others requires recognizing this behavior and establishing firm boundaries. Such individuals can inflict significant emotional harm and erode your self-worth. Prioritizing your mental well-being is paramount. Do not allow them to diminish your value. Maintain your self-respect. Remember that you deserve respect and compassion. Refuse to allow these individuals to negatively impact your self-perception. Do not engage when confronted with someone who takes pleasure in your pain. Disengage and refuse to participate in their games. You owe them no explanation or justification. Cultivate genuine empathy. Surround yourself with individuals who offer emotional support and readily assist during challenging times. This network will bolster your confidence and resilience. 8. Isolation strategy. Cultivating doubt regarding one's surroundings. The initial tactic in isolating a victim involves sowing seeds of doubt about their existing relationships. Control-seeking individuals will attempt to undermine your trust in the honesty and benevolence of your loved ones. They achieve this by fabricating narratives, exaggerating others' flaws, or deliberately creating misunderstandings to drive a wedge between you and your friends and family. For instance, manipulative individuals might suggest, I don't think your friends genuinely care about you. They're always so self-centered. Or, they did this behind your back, they're not being truthful with you. Such statements aim to erode your trust and foster suspicion, encouraging severance of ties with family and friends, following the establishment of doubt. The manipulator actively encourages the victim to sever ties with loved ones. They might convince the victim that these individuals are detrimental to their well-being, wasting their time and energy, and ultimately unnecessary in their life. Examples include statements like, "Your family doesn't understand you, they only want to control you." Or, your friends are just draining you, they don't truly care. These assertions aim to devalue these relationships, positioning the manipulator as the sole source of support and leading to progressive isolation, inducing feelings of loneliness and despair, as the manipulator successfully isolates the victim. The next phase involves cultivating feelings of profound loneliness and despair. The goal is to create a sense of utter dependence, making the victim believe they have nowhere else to turn for support or solace. This is often achieved through statements such as, "Only I truly understand you. No one else will ever comprehend you the way I do." This reinforces the victim's reliance on the manipulator, resulting in emotional isolation and a perceived lack of alternative support systems. Restricting personal and social growth. A key component of the isolation strategy is to impede the victim's personal and social development. Manipulators actively discourage participation in social activities or pursuits that foster personal growth and connections with others. They might dissuade the victim from engaging in hobbies or opportunities for social interaction, suggesting that spending time solely with the manipulator is sufficient. This might involve discouraging attendance at social events, claiming the victim will be uncomfortable, or that such activities are unimportant. They may even deliberately create conflict or induce guilt when the victim attempts to socialize independently. Positioning themselves as the sole source of support, the manipulator cultivates an image of irreplaceability, convincing the victim that they are the only source of support and understanding. They work to create a sense of utter dependence, implying the victim's survival or emotional well-being hinges entirely on the manipulator's presence. Statements like, "Without me, you'd be lost. No one else could help you the way I do," are frequently employed. This fosters dependence and undermines the victim's self-reliance and autonomy, instilling insecurity regarding external relationships. A crucial aspect of isolation involves undermining the victim's trust in relationships outside the manipulator's control. This generates insecurity and strengthens the victim's dependence on the manipulator. This might involve suggesting, "Everyone is talking behind your back," or, "People only want to take advantage of you." These statements aim to convince the victim that only the manipulator is trustworthy, preventing the maintenance of independent relationships. Protecting oneself from isolation tactics. To safeguard against isolation tactics, one must recognize the warning signs of manipulation and proactively maintain supportive relationships with family, friends, and the wider community. Maintaining connections with significant others is paramount. Establishing clear boundaries is crucial to protect personal autonomy and prevent manipulative control. Remembering the availability of social support is essential. Many individuals are willing to offer assistance when needed. Seeking professional guidance from trusted individuals, such as friends, family members, or therapists, is advisable if experiencing isolation or manipulation. 9. Envy masked by a veneer of care. Veiled envy masquerading as concern. Individuals harboring envy often cloak their feelings under a guise of concern. They may outwardly express interest in your achievements, but their underlying motive is jealousy. Their inability to tolerate your happiness or success manifests not in overt animosity, but in subtle, manipulative behaviors designed to diminish your accomplishments. They may offer praise, yet simultaneously downplay your success, subtly undermining your sense of pride. For instance, upon completion of a successful project, such a person might say, "That's good, but it would have been truly impressive if you had achieved something more." This isn't genuine congratulation. It's a calculated attempt to minimize your achievement and foster feelings of inadequacy. Subtly critical advice. Another tactic employed by envious individuals is the delivery of ostensibly helpful advice, that is, in reality, thinly veiled criticism. This advice isn't intended to aid improvement but rather to instill self-doubt and undermine your sense of worth. The goal is to erode your confidence and create feelings of insecurity. For example, when sharing the joy of an accomplishment, you might hear, "That's fine, but if you want to truly excel, you need to work twice as hard." While seemingly constructive, this comment serves to diminish your achievement and foster feelings of inadequacy. Comparative diminishment. A common method of concealing envy involves making unfavorable comparisons. These individuals may not directly express jealousy, but they subtly compare you to others, thereby diminishing the value of your success. The aim is to make your accomplishments seem less significant or noteworthy. For example, upon sharing a professional success, you might hear, "That's good, but I heard your colleague is working on a much larger, more successful project." This avoids direct negation but subtly undermines your sense of accomplishment and pride. Sarcastic praise. Envious individuals may utilize seemingly complimentary remarks that are, in fact, laced with sarcasm. These comments lack genuine sincerity and serve as a sophisticated means of undermining your self-worth. You'll likely find such praise fails to elicit genuine happiness, instead leaving you feeling diminished. For example, after completing a significant task, you might hear, "Oh, you finally finished. I thought you'd give up halfway through." This seemingly positive comment is dripping with sarcasm, subtly suggesting you don't deserve the credit for your success, undermining confidence and success. Envious individuals not only diminish your achievements but actively seek to hinder your progress in relationships or careers. They may deliberately create feelings of inadequacy or guilt to prevent you from fully enjoying your success. For example, upon sharing career advancement, you might hear, "Aren't you moving too fast? There are bound to be risks at this pace." This creates doubt and implies your actions are somehow flawed, despite your evident success. Protecting yourself from covert envy. To safeguard yourself from individuals masking envy under a veneer of care, it's crucial to recognize the disingenuousness in their words and actions. While their comments may appear caring, you must discern their attempts to undermine your accomplishments. Trust your intuition. If a compliment or piece of advice feels uncomfortable, heed your instincts. Those genuinely invested in your well-being will celebrate your successes without diminishing their value. Identify comparative statements and subtle criticisms. Don't allow comparisons or veiled criticisms to erode your confidence. Remember that everyone's journey is unique, and your achievements are worthy of pride. Establish boundaries. Don't allow others to control your emotions through envy or guilt you for your success. Protect your confidence and your joy. 10. Unrepentant. Refusal to accept responsibility. A hallmark of unrepentant individuals is their consistent avoidance of accountability for their wrongdoings. Instead of acknowledging and rectifying mistakes, they deflect blame onto circumstances, others, or any external factor. They fail to recognize the potential harm their actions inflict on others or the damage to relationships. For instance, after hurting someone, instead of apologizing and taking ownership, they might retort, "It's because you misunderstood me," or, "If you hadn't acted that way, I wouldn't have done that." This demonstrates an unwillingness to consider others' perspectives and a persistent evasion of responsibility. Justification of wrongdoing. Unrepentant individuals invariably justify their actions, even when causing significant harm. They perceive no wrongdoing in hurting others and actively seek rationalizations to legitimize their behavior. They frequently employ excuses to shield themselves and reject any notion of necessary change. For example, an individual might claim, "I only did it because I was stressed," or, "You don't understand the pressure I was under." Rather than admitting fault and rectifying their behavior, they attribute blame to external factors and demonstrate no inclination to alter their conduct. Confrontation with denial and resistance. Unrepentant individuals frequently meet truth with denial. They steadfastly refuse to acknowledge wrongdoing, and when confronted, react with denial or resistance. They are unwilling to engage in self-reflection and admit fault. For example, when confronted with their misconduct, they might respond, "I did nothing wrong, you're just too sensitive." They cannot accept that their actions might harm others and resist any attempts to expose the truth. Perceiving change as weakness. A characteristic of unrepentant individuals is their perception of admitting fault or altering behavior as a sign of weakness or lack of self-respect. They deem admitting mistakes unnecessary and believe it would diminish them or compromise their control. They believe in maintaining their stance and actions, even if harmful to others. For example, an individual might state, "I don't need to apologize, I did nothing wrong. If I did, others would think I'm weak." This reveals rigidity and an inability to adapt, viewing self-improvement as surrender. Lack of self-reflection and immaturity. Unrepentant individuals lack the capacity for self-reflection and exhibit immaturity in their approach to relationships. They fail to learn from mistakes and repeatedly engage in negative behaviors. This hinders their personal growth, damages relationships, and consistently causes harm to those around them. For example, if they hurt someone, instead of reflecting on their actions and modifying their behavior, they continue the same patterns without learning from past experiences. They lack the self-awareness and behavioral adjustment necessary for improvement, blaming others instead of self-improvement when confronted with errors. Unrepentant individuals never accept blame. Instead, they shift responsibility to others or circumstances. They refuse to acknowledge their role in causing problems and consistently seek to blame others. This reveals a lack of self-awareness and an unwillingness to change. For example, an individual might say, "If you hadn't done that, I wouldn't have reacted that way." Or, "It's your fault for making me angry." They never take responsibility for their actions and instead deflect blame onto others. Protecting yourself from unrepentant individuals. To protect yourself from unrepentant individuals, establish clear boundaries and refuse to allow emotional manipulation. Do not tolerate unaccountable harm and avoid unrealistic expectations of change. Identify and stand firm. If you recognize someone's inability to repent and consistent blame shifting, protect yourself by disengaging from unproductive arguments. Do not allow emotional manipulation. Establish clear boundaries. Set limits and prevent further harm without reciprocal change. Sometimes, the only way to protect yourself is to withdraw from the relationship. This exploration has revealed key indicators of toxic individuals. Subtle manipulations, envy, and a lack of empathy can inflict significant emotional distress. However, Stoic philosophy provides effective tools for self-protection and maintaining inner peace. Remain vigilant, establish clear boundaries, and refuse to allow anyone to compromise your autonomy or happiness. If you found this analysis helpful, please like and subscribe for future insights. Maintain strength and discernment in all your relationships.